Welcome to the Labour Force. I'm Bongeni Mutwa. The plight of more than 3,000 workers at the state-owned arms manufacturer Denel has been laid bare with the disclosure by Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan in Parliament earlier this week that the company last paid full salaries a year ago. Gordhan told members of Parliament that currently Denel owes its employees R500 million in unpaid salaries. Earlier this year, Denel board chairperson Monhla Hlahla told Parliament that the parastatal is insolvent. This after making losses totaling almost R5 billion over the past 4 years. Unions say the strain of not being paid salaries for many months is taking its toll on the workers.
A lot of people are in a dire situation. Some people have sold their cars, sold their houses. Some people have resorted to resigning to be able to get their pension monies, to live from pension money. Look, at some divisions, they haven't received salaries at all from December, for example, like in Denel Dynamics. In other divisions, at least some parts of their salaries were paid, so they were able to cut their costs to a certain extent and live from the little salaries they do receive. But it's a dire situation and people are losing. At the end of the day, it's employees that are paying for the effect that we are now suffering because of things like state capture and bad management over a long period of time.
Minister Pravin Gordhan has described the situation as highly regrettable. But it seems government has run out of money to bail out the ailing entity.
The fact of the matter is that the only way that Denel will survive is from a capital injection of some sort. And if government doesn't have the money to do that, they should act quickly and swiftly by getting these strategic equity partners to invest capital in Denel.
Trade union NUMSA has approached the Constitutional Court seeking an order to force Parliament to intervene at Denel and other cash-strapped state-owned enterprises. Bongeni Mutwa, SABC News, Johannesburg. For more, we are joined by NUMSA spokesperson Phakamile Hlubi Majola, who, of course, is no stranger to the show. Good afternoon, Phakamile, and welcome.
Good afternoon, Mbongeni, and good afternoon to your viewers. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, a dire situation that's facing workers at Denel. I understand that some workers have even committed suicide because of this. Please paint us a picture of exactly what's happening.
It's truly horrendous what workers at Denel are going through. And what is even more painful is that as a trade union, we believe that their suffering is absolutely unnecessary. For more than a year, for at least a year, since May, workers at Denel have not been paid their salaries in full. So what's been happening is that the entity has been paying salaries according to whether it generates an income. So they are currently they've broken Denel down into divisions. Some divisions are able to generate some kind of an income, and they can pay. Maybe they'll pay a half payment or a 25% payment. But in other divisions, they haven't been able to pay at all. And the situation has obviously affected workers in really the most horrible way. Our members have lost homes, they've lost cars, they've lost assets. They're struggling to keep their children in school. And just the emotional and mental pressure has unfortunately caused some workers to end their lives. It really, really is a very dire situation facing workers. And what's really sad for us as a trade union is we don't see much from the side of the Department of Public Enterprises in their efforts as the shareholder to actually cushion workers and assist them during this time.
Well, it would seem that government, obviously, at the moment, has run out of money to bail out not just Denel, but other cash-strapped SOEs. We've been seeing the same thing happening at other SOEs, whether it's Airchefs, SAA, and others, people not getting paid or getting just a portion of the salaries. It's quite a serious problem. In your view, what should be done? What should happen?
Well, first and foremost, I think we have to be very honest about what is happening under the Ramaphosa administration. We are being deliberately misled as the public and being told that the financial pressures that this government is experiencing is as a result of the looting of the Zuma administration. The truth of the matter is that this administration is mismanaging and looting in the very same way that the Zuma administration was mismanaging and looting. Nothing has actually changed. It is completely unacceptable and unjustifiable that the shareholder, which is government in this case, is failing and has failed to come up with solutions to ensure that workers have their salaries paid. There are alternatives. For example, workers could be placed on the training layoff scheme, which is a scheme which is supported by the CETAs. It basically allows for companies which are in financial distress to put workers on training layoff for a couple of months, and their salaries will be paid for. At least 75% of their salaries will be paid for. The only reason that this option has not been taken, certainly in the case of SOEs in aviation, like in the case of SAA, SAA Technical and Airshift, is because of rampant mismanagement, which continues to happen even under Pravin Gordhan's leadership. In order for workers to be able to be eligible for this training layoff scheme, financial statements have to be produced. And as you know, Mbongeni, SAA has not produced financial statements for more than 3 years now. So it's literally because of administrative failure on the side of government as shareholder that workers are suffering in this completely unnecessary way. They haven't lifted a finger to assist them. All they've done is to pay lip service, and yet they've done absolutely nothing to protect workers during this time. They are not the ones...
Now, Phakamile, you've recently approached the Constitutional Court for some kind of intervention. Can you please explain exactly what you want the Constitutional Court to do about SOEs like Denel and others?
Well, we have been forced to go to the Constitutional Court in Mbongeni because what we are seeing is a deliberate collapse of state-owned entities. The minister himself told Parliament this week that in spite of Denel's serious cash flow crisis, Denel has an order book of 11 billion rand. And even though it has an order book of 11 billion rand, it actually does not have the capacity or the operational capital to fill those orders. So what it needs is for government to provide capital injection so that it can fill these orders and it can generate an income. And the problem that we have is government simply refuses to capitalize these entities. And the decision that is taken is an ideological decision. It's not because we don't have money. It's because Tito Mboweni, together with Ramaphosa and this ANC, have agreed that workers and their families are going to suffer during this period of COVID-19 pandemic. They've implemented austerity measures to please factions of finance capital overseas that have set these standards on our country. So we're going to the Constitutional Court. We believe that entities like Denel and SA Express, who are facing collapse and liquidation, should not be liquidated by a court. They exist because of an act of parliament. If government has decided that it no longer wants to support state-owned entities, then it needs to change government policy and follow the right processes. These entities will not be collapsed by a court. And as NUMSA, we're doing everything in our power to ensure and to force to get the Constitutional Court to compel government to be accountable for how these entities have been run and how they've been run deliberately, in our view, to the ground.
Well, Phakamile, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you very much for your time and do enjoy the rest of the day. That's how we leave it. The Alternative Investor is coming up next after the break. Stay with us.